Today we're going to be learning about quadrilaterals. So first, let's review what we've learned before. We are going to use the words sides and angles to describe these different shapes. So first, shape number 1. How many sides and how many angles does it have? Well, let's count. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sides, and then it also has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 angles. Remember that for polygons, they will have the same number of sides and the same number of angles. So if the shape has 6 sides, it will have 6 angles. If the polygon has 4 sides, it will have 4 angles. The name for a 6-sided polygon is called a hexagon. Let's look at shape number 2. How many sides and how many angles does shape number 2 have? It has 3 sides and 3 angles. The name for a 3-sided polygon is called a triangle. Let's look at shape number 3 now. How many sides and how many angles do you count for shape number 3? I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A 5-sided polygon is called a pentagon. How about for shape number 4? How many sides does it have and how many angles? It has 4 sides and 4 angles. So the name for that polygon is called a quadrilateral. Now shape number 5 has quite a few more sides. Let's count to see how many they have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So shape number 5 has 8 sides and 8 angles. What is the name for an 8-sided polygon? It is called an octagon. Which polygon has 6 sides? Is it a quadrilateral, a hexagon, a pentagon, or an octagon? If you said hexagon, then you are correct. Nice job. We are now going to move on to the main part of our lesson. Again, the main part of our lesson is on quadrilaterals. A quadrilateral is a kind of polygon. A quadrilateral is a shape that has 4 sides and 4 angles to it. So if it has less than 4 sides or more than 4 sides, it will have a completely different name. It is not considered a quadrilateral. Remember that the beginning part of that word quad means 4. So we are going to go over a few different types of quadrilaterals, and we're going to talk about their attributes or their properties. So basically, we are going to talk about like what makes a rectangle, or what makes a square. So first, we're going to start off with a rectangle. You'll notice that for all of these shapes, the first 2 things that are listed are that they have 4 angles and 4 sides, because again, that's what makes it a quadrilateral. So for a rectangle, it will have 4 right angles, because remember, I can take a square here and I can move this square into the corner of any corner of this rectangle, and it fits perfectly, which means that all 4 corners, all 4 angles in this rectangle are right angles. It also has 4 sides. For a rectangle, the opposite sides are the same length. So we talked about that when we're learning about area, right? So if this side of the rectangle here is like 5 feet, then this side will also be 5 feet. If this side is 4 feet, then this side will also be 4 feet, because opposite sides are the same length. Also, opposite sides are parallel. That means that if they kept going forever, they would never touch. So just imagine that this line just keeps on going. And then this bottom line just keeps on going as well. you'll notice that they never cross paths. They never touch because they are parallel. And then the same goes for these two sides as well. These sides will never touch either. They are parallel too. Now let's look at a square. A square, similar to a rectangle, has 4 right angles. So if I take this square that we made before, and I put it in all 4 corners, it will fit perfectly in all 4 corners of the square because each corner is a right angle. It has 4 sides. All sides are the same length. So if this side is 4 inches, then this side is 4 inches. This side is also 4 inches, and this side is 4 inches too. Because all sides are the same length in a square. And then, similar to the rectangle, opposite sides are parallel. So I'm just going to take this line that I made here and bring it down. If this top side of the square were to keep on going, and then the bottom line were to keep going as well, these lines are parallel because they will never touch. The difference between a square and a rectangle is that in a square, all sides are the same length. But in a rectangle, opposite sides are the same length. Otherwise, they're pretty much the same. Let's move on to a parallelogram. So again, you'll notice that the first 2 things listed are that a parallelogram has 4 angles and 4 sides, because that is what makes it a quadrilateral. Then, in a parallelogram, opposite sides are the same length. So if this side is 4 feet, this side is 4 feet. If this side is 6 feet, this side is also 6 feet. Opposite sides are the same length. Also, opposite sides are parallel. So same as the rectangle and square, if I were to have this line keep going on forever, and this bottom line to keep going on forever, those lines would never touch. And then the same thing, if I were to have this line continue going this way, it goes off the page though, and if I were to have this line continue going this way, these lines would never touch because they are parallel. Let's move on to the trapezoid. So again, the trapezoid has 4 angles and 4 sides. That's what makes it a parallel or a quadrilateral, excuse me. And then opposite sides are parallel. So the top and the bottom sides are parallel more so. So again, if these lines were to keep going, they would never touch. Now, in a trapezoid, these 2 other sides are not parallel because watch this. If this line keeps going and this line keeps going, eventually they will touch. So only the top and the bottom sides of a trapezoid are parallel. So there's one set of parallel lines. Let's move on to our last quadrilateral, which is the rhombus. The rhombus, just like every quadrilateral, has 4 sides and 4 angles, but these 4 angles are not right angles. Because if I were to take my square and try to fit it into a corner, I would notice that it doesn't really fit in there perfectly, right? And the same for these ones too. So there's no right angles in a rhombus. However, similar to a square, all sides are the same length. So if this side of a rhombus is 2 feet, then this side will be 2 feet, this side will be 2 feet, and this side will be 2 feet. and then opposite sides are parallel. So again, if these lines were to keep going and this line were to keep going, they would never cross. They would never touch because they are parallel. So now I want to classify each quadrilateral that's shown here. So for number 1, what quadrilateral is it? Well, I notice that it has 4 sides and 4 angles, which makes it a quadrilateral, and it has 4 right angles, so it's either a square or a rectangle. A square has all 4 sides the same. A rectangle has opposite sides are the same length. So number 1 must be a rectangle. What quadrilateral do you think is number 2? Number 2 is a rhombus because all sides are the same length. Opposite sides are parallel. There are 4 sides and 4 angles and no right angles. What shape do you think is shape number 3? What quadrilateral is that? So for number 3, I notice that opposite sides are parallel, and then it has, or top and bottom sides are parallel, excuse me. And then it has 4 sides and 4 angles, but no right angles. So that would make that a trapezoid. Then last, in shape number 4, it has 4 sides, 4 right angles, and all sides are the same length. So shape number 4 is a square. So now they wanted us to draw and label each quadrilateral that is described below. So 2 pairs of parallel sides, 4 right angles, opposite sides of equal length. That would be a rectangle. And then 1 pair of parallel sides, 0 right angles, and no sides of equal length. So that would be a trapezoid because remember the top and the bottom are going to be parallel and no sides are going to be the same length. All right, so then for this one, all right, sorry, I have to pause the recording for a second. So it's a little bit choppy right now. Like if I kind of stopped and started funny, that's weird. That's why. So for this example, it says the Eiffel Tower shown is in Paris, France. Describe whether any of the sides in the quadrilateral outlined in green are parallel. So if any of the sides will not touch. So it says the top and what sides of the quadrilateral are parallel. So the top of the quadrilateral is right here. And I know that if I'm going to make it go along on this side too. So then if I were to draw this line, this side is not parallel because they touch. If I were to do this side, they touch right here. So those 2 sides are not parallel either. But let's try the bottom of this quadrilateral. The bottom and the top are parallel because they will never touch. So a quadrilateral with exactly 1 pair of parallel sides is called a trapezoid. So that means that the shape that's outlined in green is called a trapezoid. All right, so some quadrilaterals have sides that are parallel. That means that they will never touch. A quadrilateral with exactly 1 pair of parallel sides is called a trapezoid. So these are all examples of trapezoids. So some quadrilaterals have both pairs of opposite sides parallel. Those quadrilaterals are called parallelograms. A parallelogram have the attributes shown in the table below. So both pairs of opposite sides are parallel. Opposite sides have the same length, and then opposite angles are the same size. So if this angle is, let's say, 115 degrees, this angle will also be 115 degrees because they're opposite. If this angle is, let's say, 70 degrees, this angle is also going to be 70 degrees because they're opposite, and opposite angles are the same size, same degree. So then there are many kinds of parallelograms. You can classify quadrilaterals, including parallelograms, using the following attributes or descriptions or properties. Say side length, parallel sides, and right angles. And then this just describes the different quadrilaterals or parallelograms that we talked about before. So a rectangle, rhombus, and a square are all examples of parallelograms. All right, which parallelogram have all sides equal in length? We have a rectangle, a square, and a rhombus. I know that a square and a rhombus have all four sides equal in length. So figure 2 and figure 3 would be the answer to this question. And then which parallelograms have four right angles? By looking at the picture, I can tell that figure 1 and figure 2 have all four right angles. Figure 3 does not have any right angles in it. All right, so a rectangle is a parallelogram with four right angles. A rhombus is a parallelogram with four equal sides. And a square is a parallelogram with four right angles and four equal sides. So figure 1 is an example of a rectangle. Figure 2 is a rectangle, rhombus, and a square. And figure 3 is a rhombus. So that is all we have for you today for your lesson on quadrilaterals. I hope that makes sense to you. If you have any questions, please ask for help. Have a good day.